Welcome to the Daily Vibecasting. Today, California's childcare system is funding ghosts, SpaceX decides heat shields are obsolete, and the manosphere gets caught dancing with the enemy. It's a strange energy today. We are looking at a day defined by two absolute extremes. On one side, you have this massive, unchecked government waste system so broken they almost feel fictional.
Right.
And then on the other, you have this high-risk, physics-defying engineering where every single ounce is calculated. It feels like we're watching two different worlds collide.
Follow the money, and you'll usually find a scam or a burning rocket engine. Honestly, the only difference today is that the rocket engine is supposed to be on fire.
Right. And usually you want the money to be on fire in the rocket sense, not the government sense. So let's dive straight into the lead story because this one is just blowing up on X.
I've been watching this one.
We're talking about the ghost daycare scandal. This comes from the handle at Wall Street Apes. And I have to say, the term ghost daycare sounds like a bad horror movie, but the reality is so much more mundane and just way more expensive.
Well, the handle at Wall Street Apes might sound like a meme, but the investigation they are highlighting is deadly serious. It really exposes a systemic rot.
Exactly.
Right.
So let's break down what actually happened here. Amy Reichert, she's the founder of Restore San Diego, decided to do something that apparently nobody in the government thought to do.
Yeah.
She started digging into Gavin Newsom's Department of Child Services records.
She literally just went to the addresses.
She literally went to the addresses listed as licensed child care providers.
And this is where the ghost part comes in, right?
Yeah. She goes to these facilities. Now, on paper, these places are licensed to care for, up to 28 children? You'd expect noise, toys, chaos, parents dropping kids off.
Sure.
Instead, silence. Empty buildings, no kids.
But here's the kicker. The checks are still clearing.
That's the part that just gets me. How does a facility with 0 children collect state funding?
It's subsidy fraud. Pure and simple. You have to understand how these payment structures work. In a lot of these state programs, the funding is allocated based on enrollment slots or, reported attendance that is almost never verified in person. So these operators, they just tell the state, hey, we have 28 low-income children here.
And the state's computer says.
Okay, here is the subsidy check for 28 children.
And just show, nobody checks.
That's the grift. This isn't just about lazy record keeping. This is operators collecting state funds for children that effectively do not exist in their care. And we aren't talking about pocket change.
No, not at all. The numbers are staggering. And this isn't just a California thing, is it? The thread at Wall Street Apes mentions this was actually inspired by an investigation up in Minnesota.
Correct, by Nick Shirley. And that's the second order effect we always talk about on this deep dive.
Right.
Once you find a leak in the system in one state, you realize the plumbing is probably rotten everywhere. The Minnesota probe exposed the exact same playbook. You falsify amendments, you collect the government check, and you just hope nobody knocks on the door.
And for a long time, nobody did.
Nobody knocked.
But the scale in California seems to be on a whole other level. I'm looking at the numbers here, and there are reports floating around suggesting over $76 billion in potential welfare discrepancies in California.
$76 billion.
That's not a hole in the budget. That's a GDP-sized crater.
To put that in perspective for you, that is larger than the entire annual GDP of countries like Uruguay or Bulgaria.
Wow.
We are talking about an amount of money that could revolutionize infrastructure, education, or healthcare. Instead, it's just vanishing into ghost daycares.
And it's getting political, obviously. The context here is that the Trump administration actually tried to freeze $10 billion in childcare funds precisely because they cited fraud.
Which the courts blocked. And this is where you really need to pay attention. This isn't just Republicans versus Democrats. This is about administrative state paralysis. The administration said there is fraud, stop the money. The courts said you can't stop the money, that's arbitrary. And now independent investigators are proving the fraud was real all along.
So you have to ask the uncomfortable question. Is this just incompetence? Is it just bureaucrats asleep at the wheel?
I think that's being too generous. When you have $76 billion flowing with that little oversight, it stops looking like an accident and it starts looking like an industry.
An industry.
Yeah. If you can get paid for a ghost, why would you ever take care of a real kid? Real kids are expensive. They need food, supervision, insurance. Ghosts have incredible profit margins.
It's taxpayer looting, plain and simple.
It is. And it creates this perverse incentive structure where the business becomes navigating the bureaucracy, not actually providing the service.
Speaking of margins, and questionable government spending. Let's pivot to the political side of the ledger. Because while money is vanishing in San Diego, it's also being fought over in D.C.
Oh, yeah.
We saw a very angry post from Representative Tim Burchett, handle at Tim Burchett.
Oh, Burchett was livid. And frankly, he has a point.
He posted a video calling out his own party. Apparently, 81 Republicans joined with Democrats to keep $315 million in funding for the NED.
The National Endowment for Democracy.
Right.
And this connects perfectly to the daycare story. Think about the picture we're painting here. We're bleeding billions domestically on empty daycares, ghost children, fraudulent welfare. The argument is always, we don't have enough money.
Always.
But at the same time, Congress, including a huge chunk of the so-called fiscally conservative party, is fighting tooth and nail to send hundreds of millions of dollars to an organization that Trump explicitly wanted to defund.
So for listeners who might not follow the nuances of foreign policy NGOs, what exactly is the NED? Why is it so controversial?
The National Endowment for Democracy. So on paper, it promotes democratic institutions abroad. But its critics, and this includes both progressives and isolationist conservatives, they argue that it's essentially a vehicle for interfering in foreign elections and funding regime change, soft power. It's a relic of a different era.
So it's the world police budget.
Exactly. But the optic is just terrible. You have everyday Americans watching their tax dollars vanish into ghost daycares in San Diego, and then they watch the rest go to democracy promotion abroad.
It just reinforces that cynical view.
Totally. That fiscal conservatism is just a campaign slogan. It's fiscal conservatism until the check clears.
It really highlights the disconnect, doesn't it? Fraud at home, interventionism abroad, and the taxpayer is footing the bill for both.
And in both cases, the oversight is minimal. I mean, who checks if the NED money actually promoted democracy? Who checks if the daycare money actually watched a child? Nobody. The money just moves.
It's a depressing realization. But okay, let's shift gears completely. We're moving from government inefficiency to what might be the absolute peak of engineering efficiency.
Or insanity.
Or insanity, depending on how you look at it.
With SpaceX, it's usually both.
It is. We're looking at a post from @TeslaOwnersSV about the new SpaceX Raptor 3 engine. They posted a video of the static fire test, and the specs are, well, they're calling it sublime engineering.
It's radical. That's the word for it, and I don't use that word lightly in aerospace.
The headline feature that everyone is freaking out about, no heat shield.
Which sounds completely suicidal for a rocket engine.
Right. For anyone who knows anything about rockets, things get hot, like melting metal hot. The post says they've eliminated the basic heat shield to save mass and boost reliability. And get this, they mention that small fuel leaks aren't dangerous, they simply burn off safely in the open plasma.
See, this is where I have to pause. We're accepting fuel leaks as a feature now. Oh, don't worry about the leaking methane, the plasma will take care of it.
It does sound terrifying. But let's explain the technical side here. How do you run an engine without a heat shield, without it just turning into a puddle of molten steel?
It's called regenerative cooling, but just taken to an absolute extreme. In a normal engine, you might have a blanket or a shield to protect delicate parts from the heat of the nozzle. The Raptor 3 is designed so that the cryogenic fuel, the liquid methane, which is sitting at, minus 250 degrees Fahrenheit, is pumped through channels in the engine wall before it goes into the combustion chamber.
So the fuel itself is the coolant.
Exactly. It picks up the heat from the engine wall, which preheats the fuel, making it burn better, and it keeps the metal from melting. But to do this without any external shielding, that requires just insanely precise engineering. You are dancing on the absolute edge of physics.
And the trade-off is weight, right?
Mass. In rocketry, mass is always the enemy. By ditching the heat shield and integrating all the cooling channels, they save about 7% of the engine mass compared to the Raptor 2.
And that mass saving translates directly to thrust. We're talking 280 metric tons of thrust. They need this for the Starship V3 to lift over 100 tons to orbit.
I get the physics. I do. The rocket equation is brutal. If you want to get 100 tons to orbit, you have to shed every single ounce of fat. But it's a philosophical shift in engineering.
How so?
Well, traditional aerospace, think NASA, think Boeing, it's all about redundancy and shielding. If something breaks, there's a backup. This approach, this is about running so hot and so fast that the problem literally burns itself up. It's very high risk, very high reward.
It's stripping the machine down to its absolute bare essentials.
It's the anti-government approach, really. No bloat. If it doesn't add thrust, cut it off, even if it's the heat shield. And if it leaks a little, let it burn.
Speaking of stripping things down and rebuilding, let's talk about what's happening over at Tesla. Elon Musk, handle at Elon Musk, dropped some pretty major news about their supercomputer project.
The dojo pivot, or the re-pivot, I guess.
He posted that now that the AI 5 chip design is in good shape, Tesla will restart work on Dojo 3. And he's actively recruiting semiconductor experts. He says he wants people to solve the toughest technical problems.
This is a fascinating strategic wobble that's now correcting itself.
Yeah.
You have to remember, they paused Dojo, their custom supercomputer project, back in mid-2025.
All right, they went all in on NVIDIA GPUs for a while. They were buying H100s by the pallet.
They had to. They needed the compute power immediately for full self-driving. They couldn't wait for their own chip to be ready. But going back to Dojo 3, this tells me that Musk is not comfortable renting his brain from NVIDIA forever.
He wants to own the stack.
Exactly. This is about supply chain independence and margin. If you are reliant on NVIDIA for your AI training clusters, you are subject to Jensen Huang's pricing power. You're paying the NVIDIA tax, and you are subject to supply constraints. If Meta or Google buys up all the chips, Tesla has to wait in line.
So Dojo is their escape hatch.
It's more than that. I think if you can build your own custom silicon, the Dojo chips, specifically optimized for video training, which is what self-driving cars need, you can theoretically get better performance per dollar than a general-purpose GPU.
And he's claiming these will be the highest volume chips in the world.
Which is a bold claim, yeah, given the volume of consumer electronics. But if you look at the fleet size Tesla is aiming for and the massive compute needed for robotaxis, he might not be wrong. It's another huge bet on vertical integration. He doesn't want to rely on anyone else's hardware.
Well, while Tesla's building the brains, the cars themselves are proving they have the brawn. We have a wild video out of China from Handel at Ray for Tesla.
This was painful to watch, but so instructive.
It's a road rage incident in Shanghai. A Tank 300, which is this very popular, rugged Chinese off-road SUV, it tries to bully a Tesla Model Y. It cuts in, tries to brake check it. And then things go very wrong for the SUV.
It goes wrong because of physics. The Tank 300 hits the Tesla, and instead of crushing the sedan, the SUV literally climbs the wheel and flips itself over.
It tipped over on its side like a turtle. I mean, the Model Y looked barely scratched. It just sat there.
This is the battery pack advantage. We talk about it in abstract terms, low center of gravity, but this is what it actually looks like in the real world. That Model Y is anchored to the road by 1,000 pounds of lithium and nickel sitting right in the floorboard.
Yeah.
It's a skateboard made of lead, effectively. The SUV is top-heavy, high-clearance, soft suspension.
It's a clash of architectures.
It is, and it's a market signal, too. The Chinese auto market is a war zone right now. PR wars, price wars.
Absolutely.
And in a PR war, viral videos matter. You can run all the ads you want about your rugged off-roader, but if a video goes viral of it getting flipped by a tech nerd electric car, that hurts the brand. Physics is the ultimate arbiter. You can't market your way out of a high center of gravity.
Physics wins. Every time.
Speaking of things flipping over and collapsing.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Let's move to culture and society. Because while the Tesla held its ground, the so-called manosphere seems to be crumbling.
Implosion is the word I'd use, yeah.
We're looking at a viral clip from Handel at Osint 613. It's footage from a Miami nightclub. And who do we see?
The usual suspects. Nick Fuentes, Andrew Tate, Sneeko, the holy trinity of the online trad movement.
Right. These are the guys who preach tradition. They preach anti-degeneracy. They tell young men to reject modernity, reject the club scene, reject the chaos, go to church, get married, live a quiet life.
And here they are, under the red strobe lights, dancing. And not just dancing, they're partying with a very diverse crowd, the exact kind of degenerate nightlife vibe they claim to despise. They look right at home in the Babylon they claim to hate.
It's jarring. You have these figures who built their entire brand on being the counterculture to this lifestyle, and they look like they're having the time of their lives in the middle of it.
It's the grift reveal. This is what happens when an ideology is just a product line. They sell tradition to angry young men online because that's what sells. But they don't live it. They are influencers first, ideologues second.
The context on the post is brutal. Osint 613 mentions that Jewish commentators are looking at this and saying self-destruction is doing the work for us.
It is a branding collapse. You can't tell your followers that the modern world is a poison and then get caught chugging that poison in VIP. It breaks the spell. It shows the audience that the trad lifestyle is just a costume these guys wear for thumbnails.
It really exposes the difference between between looking tough and being tough, or talking about discipline versus actually having it. Which brings us to our final story. A palate cleanser, if you will.
Please, we need one after that nightclub scene.
This is from Handle at History and Memes. It's footage from 1985, Soviet acrobat Valentin Dikul.
This guy is the real deal. No filters, no edits, just raw strength.
The video shows him juggling 3 steel spheres.
Yeah.
Each one weighs 40 kilograms. That's 88 pounds.
Let's just do the math on that. That is roughly 264 pounds of solid steel flying through the air at any given moment.
It looks effortless. The balls are massive, about 21 centimeters in diameter like cannonballs. He's tossing them to neck height, catching them on his neck, rolling them. It's terrifying to watch because if he misses, he breaks a bone.
But the backstory is what really matters here. This isn't just some strong guy. At 14, Dikul fell 13 meters during a gymnastics routine. He broke his spine. He was paralyzed.
Paralyzed. And the doctors told him he'd never walk again.
Right. And instead of accepting that, he spent 8 months doing exhaustive daily training. He didn't have a program. He started lifting small weights, using pulleys, stretching bands. He systematically forced his body to reconnect the signals.
He rebuilt his own nervous system through sheer force of will.
He didn't just walk again. He became a circus powerhouse.
Right.
One of the strongest men in the Soviet Union.
And later founded a spinal rehab center in 1988.
See, contrast this with the Miami Club video. On one hand, you have influencers selling a supplement-fueled aesthetic version of masculinity while they dance in a club. They're performing strength. Yeah. On the other, you have a guy who rebuilt his broken spine and now juggles cannonballs. That is actual strength.
No podcast, no alpha male courses.
It's just physics-defying discipline. One is content. The other is capability. We mistake the two far too often these days. We scroll past the content and think we're learning something, but real capability is built in the dark, lifting 80-pound steel balls when nobody is watching.
That is a powerful distinction. Content versus capability.
And it applies to everything we talked about today. The ghost daycares. That's content without capability. A facility on paper with no actual care. The Raptor engine. That's pure capability. Ugly, raw, leaking, but it moves the mountain.
And the manosphere influencers are just the content, empty calories.
Exactly. They are the ghost daycares of masculinity.
Oof, that is a brutal takedown. So what does this all mean for tomorrow? What's your prediction?
I'm looking at that ghost daycare story. The number $76 billion is just too big to ignore. It's gone viral. My prediction. Within the next 48 hours, we are going to see a federal announcement regarding a massive audit of state-level social services. The administration needs a win, and stopping fraud is the easiest win on the table. They're going to go to war over this.
It feels like the dam is breaking on that one.
It is. The receipts are out.
Well, keep your engines running and your receipts handy.
And watch out for the heat shields.
See you tomorrow on the Vibecasting.